But firstly, to start off and to just get a proper introduction of yourself to the people. I've told them a bit about you, but from you directly, if you could know about your journey with respect to digital marketing.
Yeah, I started
So
about 20 years ago, and since 2014 is where I've been into. I would say that is when I ran my first campaign on Meta on Facebook back then, and I saw some results, and I was fascinated by that, and then I got too excited about it. I kind of went ahead of my self. Uh, Ended up spending a lot of money, and without getting any results, I disappointed myself then, and then I realized that I need to give it some time, learning and developing some skills, mitigating risk, and that is when I started deep diving into uh, the power of digital marketing. It was so fascinating back then, and it is still as fascinating for me. It just gets more and more fascinating with the advancement, especially with the rise of AI now. Uh, Although back then we could see those footprints of AI at work. When you're targeting your audience, or you're choosing your placements, and you're split testing your ads, which ads are running better for you. Your carousels are doing better than your videos, or your videos are doing better than your carousels. What is the information missing? The content strategy, the whole the entire spectrum of marketing through digital channels was so fascinating. So back in 2018-19, I got my first shot as a professional. I was heading the marketing team for India for a company which was into publishing of information technology books, and read materials and educate them on the development of IT space. And the goal was to increase the subscription base by running ads on any platforms where we have visibility and established visibility, including Amazon. So we had Amazon Marketing Services, we had Meta, we also had Google. We were leveraging it to Google as well. And that is where I started getting my hands on the ground. And I went before I joined the company. Obviously, I had done some online courses, certified. I got some certifications for GA three back then. The digital marketing certificate from Google. There's a blueprint certification by Facebook. There's also an Amazon marketing certification. I think I got that as well. But yeah,
that's
that
right.
is.
So your That's right. Um, Now, with respect to a lot of people who are new in this industry, according to you, what would be the particular things that from within that you say this is performance marketing and this is a type of digital marketing?
So digital marketing is, I would say, the bigger subject here. Performance marketing is a very niche and special skill set, and it is a part of digital marketing. And performance marketing is more deep diving into the analytics of whatever efforts that you have taken. You've set the field with digital marketing, but who's going to now play and perform on the field to get you those metrics? Um, Marketing is always a cost department for all the industries, even the traditional marketing. It has always been, but there's always this sense of return of investment for all businesses, small, large, medium. Whatever the spends on marketing, how do you get your returns on them? The basics of the fundamentals of marketing haven't changed. Only the technologies have changed. So how do you keep your people engaged, and how do you commercialize, or meet your goals? So you define your metrics very specifically. It is not a one building up a funnel. I think it is building up a hydra of funnels, multiple funnels. So you have to split test a lot of things. It is not always a straight line that I want to make it as simple as possible for the user. Quick clicks and easy navigation, user friendly interface. That is obviously the basics, but then it gets deeper with performance marketing. Uh, how is your SEO at play? In fact, there have been some cases in some finance where we kind of intentionally made it difficult for the call to action for the client to filter out the casual or the higher intent versus the lower intent quartiles.
That's
uh,
right.
kind
So in performance marketing, like obviously, with the businesses who are just starting up or people who don't know much into digital marketing, they would still assume like performance marketing is managing the ads. Ad could be for Google Meta or certain marketplaces, but um, how would you kind of say like in terms of totally what all activities would come, because I would even say that say even influencer marketing could be a part of performance. So how would you kind of define it so that you know, okay, these all activities would come under performance marketing, because this is mostly demanded by startups, like they heavily invest into performance marketing of their particular the marketing budgets.
so yeah, so how do we kind of segment performance marketing out of the digital marketing spaces? Um, Performance marketing is more niche in terms of, as I mentioned, analysis. You have to identify those key metrics, and it is not only about running ads. Obviously, that is a very important part. It is one of the four wheels of a car. You cannot take a wheel away from a car, right? So it's definitely one of the four wheels, but there are so many aspects to look into in terms of the user journey. And when we talk about the levels of marketing, these are obviously, it's like if I have to give an analogy of starting to drive a car, if you're a first time learner, you're going to start with the first gear and then the second gear. Rather than jumping directly into Google search, people think, okay, it's a high intent campaign. तो मुझे I don't want to do display. I just want to start with the Google search, and I just want to pay for those incoming traffic. But if when you with the display marketing, you get estimations, you get segmentations of the size of the audience that you can potentially tap into that just from a click of a button, and you can make them some you can make them take some call to actions towards your business. That is what you want finally, right? People coming towards you. But you have to create that field by display marketing with because display marketing has much lower CPMs and cost per results as compared to the, and it is kind of a snowball effect which goes into your later inbound campaigns as well, or below the line campaigns as well. When there's more awareness, there's more buzz about it, there's constant engagement, so it kind of improves your metrics at the bottom of the funnel, the cost per acquisition, the return on ad spend. Return on ad spend being the north star goal, but it's a very subjective matter when it comes to the return on ad spend. Um, for example, the cost per acquisition is quite sometimes very misunderstood. The value of an acquisition of a customer. A lot of people think that getting using by doing performance marketing, you can get a 5x or 6x out of your business. Uh, it's not that easy to crack 5x, 6x. It has gotten more difficult after the pandemic, just because of entry of more brands, entry of more advertisers or performance marketers like me, and there's the more entry, there's a more bidding on the same audience. There's an increase in cost per results. So the return on ad spend is not always on the amount you spend on your ads alone. It also factors in what is the value you got from your customer. It's not the first transaction. The second time, if I have to show an ad, it's a pretty easy thing for me to do. I can go below the channel, below the above the line and below the line kind of marketing tools like email or maybe WhatsApp or maybe SMS, and bind them into a more lesser cost kind of remarketing strategies. And that is when you have your second and the third transactions. There's a lifetime value which is built. The value for my customers built over time, right? Over 30 days or over 60 days, depending on the life cycle of the product. So if it's a toothpaste or maybe a soap, or maybe every 1 month you want to retarget, or if it is milk, you every day you want to retarget, maybe. So it depends on a lot of factors. If it's an industrial
That's right.
product,
Yes. Yes,
it
Sagar.
could
So we'll definitely cover those parts also as we go along in the podcast. So, firstly, the first thing that comes is the strategy creation. When you get, you have a client meeting, you are kind of discussing what are the marketing goals, how realistic would it be to what kind of CPCs and cost per acquisitions and all those metrics they are decided. So firstly, with your experience, if you could just kind of lay out your general like a strategy when you are creating a new performance marketing campaign for a brand that like you meet for the first time.
Yeah, so let's say whenever I get a query that we have a brand and this is how we're going to approach it, the first thing that I ask for is their digital presence. I go through their social media. I go through the counts on their social media. I check the health of their social media in terms of how many followers or subscribers do they have on their social media, and how many of them are already engaging organically. How good is the content strategy that they have going? Do they have regular posts going out? So I do a little bit of hygiene check, and I try my I mean because I've been working with so many brands, I somehow I get an intuition of what could be the ideal target audience for them, like a soft target, which is more likely. Obviously, in the first meeting with my clients, I always listen more than have any ideas of my own, because I really want to understand the true cohort of what kind of audience are we going for, and what kind of strategies are we going to apply. I also like to know from them, as in what kind of campaigns they have run in the past, and if the results were good or not good, and how did it go. After that, I kind of do a back math in terms of once I have the cohort of the target audience, I go back to my platforms. I try to find out the estimate size of the audience available. Uh, I segment them into different geographies, if applicable, different age groups. I create multiple kind of audiences. So it's not only the interest in behavior, but also lookalikes of people who have been engaging on their Instagram or Facebook, or even with their website, for example.
Mhm.
See the count of those, combine those audiences, do a permutation combination. Then I draw a planner for my client, which is on a sheet, like a Google sheet or an Excel sheet, where I give them the projections, the key metrics that we have to identify, and the milestones that we need to achieve, and the North Star goal finally,
That's
which
right.
is most cases the
What would
North.
you like generally in terms of the clients who already have done quite a few performance marketing campaigns, and you have a lot of data for them already previously, whatever campaigns they've done. So, if you have a brand who is just started out in performance marketing, so what kind of questions will you ask them? And there's no data previously to have in terms of any campaigns done earlier.
Yeah, so there have been really some ground up startups also that I've worked with, where they do not even have the platforms ready. They've never advertised before. As simple as that. They have a Google My Business account, and that's about it. I have one client right now. We are just building from scratch. One, we are building a website. We are building the social media, everything from ground up. So if we don't have that data, then obviously you have to. I still have to. I can understand the target audience from my client, and I need to understand the idea of business. What are they? What are? How is their funnel going to be? Do they want phone calls? Do they want leads? Do they have a sales team to manage? Do they have an e-commerce website? What kind of a website? So is it a lead generation or is it e-commerce? These are the mostly the North Star
Mhm.
goals of most of my clients in performance marketing. Depends on the strategy. I kind of identify the audience size. I give them a minimum budget. I kind of give them a bracket that this is the minimum amount we need to
Hmm.
spend on the first 2 or 3 months.
But your reference points are the work you've done in the past, or you do separate research, or you have certain sources from where you check those things. Like, for example, like you do keyword planner. For example, you come to know, how much would a keyword be searched for, like say in Google ads and all, or what would be, how much you have to bid. So, what would be your, your sources in terms of when you are doing your particular research?
Yeah, there are a lot of tools that I myself use. Over a period of time, it has gotten better. But I usually take about after I have my first meetings with my clients, I have a question and answer kind of a round and understanding the expectations from media, understanding the audience, understanding whatever content strategy they want to push forward. Uh, mm, you know, integrate everything together is what I always propose to my client. I mean, I always tell them that I've had some clients who had diversified their Google ads to some other agency, outsourced it, whereas they are trying to manage the Facebook and the Meta boost posting, or just
Mhm.
pushing the social media. I always advise against that. I always advise them for going an integrated marketing approach. How to combine everything together. And after that, I take a couple of days. I do my own research. I start with the display. What is the target audience that I can go for? What kind of media am I going to throw? And what kind of metric should I expect out of it? Which is cost per link click, or maybe the cost per landing page view. Top of the funnel numbers, and so I can thrive on the top of the line numbers for conversion campaigns later, once I have enough micro market created. Um, After that, as I mentioned earlier, it becomes for keywords. I use the Google Keywords tool. That is always the best tool to use. If the client does not have the website ready, you can always take a list of the closest competitors that you think. So I take a list of 4 or 5 closest competitors that they think they are, and we can use even their websites to draw down a list of keywords, look at the search volumes. Um, then when it comes to the bidding strategy, or the match type of the keyword, again,
Mhm.
you have to educate and you have to give in some practice and
That's right.
experience in
With
that,
the
understand what exactly.
competitor, when you are kind of analyzing the competitor, is there any like specific tool you're using for seeing something deeper than what you get on the keyword planner tool? Like, are there some other things where like
Yes,
marketers
there are
can
a
use
lot
when
of
they are,
aspects.
yeah.
I look at it from different lenses when it comes to entry in a market. Um, there's a famous quote. I don't remember the name of the person who quoted that. But if you have to be successful in business or marketing, you have to be the first, best, or different. So you need to have that spectrum of your brand. So that is what you. If you're not the first, obviously, in very rare cases you are the first, because there are a lot of startups around. Uh, if you the best is going to be a different story. It's going to come much later. But how different can you be from the brand? How easier can you make it for your customer? How can you draw or share their market with yourself? So there is an impression share study on Google, which you can always refer to give you an idea of how can you shift the flow tide towards your brand as compared to your
That's right.
competitors.
Awesome. So I would like to go to the part, like, obviously, as a consultant, when you come on board, there have been obviously many times previous campaigns being done by the particular companies. Most of the time, what I've even noticed in the market is that these particular campaigns, they are not doing well, right? Like, so maybe you are the new consultant, or a part of a, if you're part of an agency, so you're the new guy working with the particular, so you have to do an audit for them basically. So
Yeah.
within that, you could just take us through like a guide for performance marketers, like what all includes within that audit.
So I usually always ask for data, and being a consultant, mostly I'm just referred to, so I get an admin access to their platforms. So I drill down the number of metrics that I want to look at. I go down to the objectives of the campaign. I check. I take the largest sample size available, like 3 months, 6 months if available. I download the data. I put it on an Excel sheet. I analyze it. I draw some pivot tables of my own to understand some key metrics, which is how many people saw the number of ads, what is the frequency of the ads, what was the objective of the campaign. That could be a changing point. For example, when you have the meta pixel on your landing page on your website, and when you initiate a traffic campaign, by default, Meta does optimization on link clicks, whereas you can easily go for a landing page view optimization, and it will give you better results because your end goal is actually getting traffic to your website and not people clicking on the link. There's a gap between them clicking the link and your website getting loaded, and they start to get engaging with your website. So yeah, so the key metrics are what was the traffic, how many converted. I usually we kind of do a metric on the organic conversion, the current conversion. That if the current organic conversion is about 5%, I set the expectations that with paid media it can drop from 5 to 2%, but that's a notional number because initially 100 people were coming to your website and five were buying. Now with the paid media, almost 500 people are going to come to your website. So 2% of 500 is greater than 5% of 100. So accept the expectations right, and then give them a planner. Show them their reports. I like to check also the proportion of the budgets across the three levels. How much was spent for awareness, how much for consideration or engagement, and how much was spent on conversion, and what were the CPMs, how many people were able to see, how was the targeting arranged in the conversion campaigns? Was it a too broader audience, or were they actually remarketing to actual engagers and not new users all the time? So the targeting, the communication, what kind of ads were split tested? Did they try anything else than a single image? Did they try carousels
And
before?
during the audit, it is, I think, more about uh, use showcasing certain weaknesses or certain maybe mistakes that I
Not
obviously
not
in
weaknesses, but areas of opportunities, and those
yeah.
metrics which can move. There are certain metrics on the top of the funnel that if you change, it really
Mhm.
changes a lot of things. So I have had. If I have to do apples to apples, client told me that in the last 3 months they've spent X amount of budget. Uh, and we got about 100 results out of it, but we are not satisfied out of the 100 for spending X. I have worked on campaigns where we have spent the exact X amount, and we've already clocking 200, 250, 2.5X by changing only the objective of the campaigns, telling them that what kind of formats should be used in your communication. So if you want to run a video, just don't let's not go with a square video. Let's have three or four adapts to it. Let's have five or six primary texts. Let's split test a lot of headlines. Now we have Chat GPT, so it's getting more and more fascinating, by the way, especially with the content creation around it
That's right.
and
So
generative
I'll
AI.
move to the other part. I think there will be more relevant in terms of that. The with your experience, what have you seen like in terms of what are your go-to things in terms of optimization? Where when you just implement those few things, you see those kind of changes. Like where maybe obviously after doing the audit and then you're brought on board. So these are the like the first go-to 4 5 things that you do, and then you see a huge change in the results that are there.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, if the budget was spent was about X is the budget spent last month. How much of the X was spent on awareness? So I would check for the CPM on it, cost per million, and CPM is also for impressions as well as for reach. The amount of people who have seen your ad. It's not the amount of impressions thrown. So the amount of people that have seen your ad, that CPM is critical to me. That's a very important milestone because that also helps you decide if you want to go for bottom of the funnel directly, or you start with top of the funnel, aiding the bottom of the funnel campaigns. Um, um, so CPM is obviously very important. You can also decide if Google is giving you a better CPM as compared to Meta or better than LinkedIn. So probably you can proportionate your budgets and use the money more wisely, uh, and a platform on the different platforms because they have different CPMs. Then the second most key metric is the cost per click for me. So I kind of have a small theory of my own, which I use to, when I mentor my executives and my managers who assist me with these campaigns. I ask them to remember these three levels: awareness, consideration to conversion. And when it comes to awareness, I tell them you reach the relevant, don't go for random and broad audiences. You just define your audience very
Sagar,
specific.
you can take us through that slowly, like those three things what you said, like one by one.
So awareness, consideration, and conversion. When it comes to
Okay.
awareness, just follow the 6 R's. I call it. The first 2 R's are reach the relevant, and don't go for the random. I see a lot of marketers, performance marketers, initially when they just want to start with the campaign, they have a slightly FOMO, what I call it, fear of missing out. Like, why don't we go for the entire 1 CR audience? And why are we narrowing them down to those specific 1 million or 2 million that I want to start my ads with? So I give them the reason that initially it's a startup, so these are the limited budgets that we have. Now you will be able to show your ad to maximum 200,000 to 250,000. So now you want to use that chip to target a narrow audience of 22 million, or do you really want to go for that 10 million or 1 CR? It's more riskier, and by split testing itself, by just split testing 500 rupees here and there, you could easily make out the CTR and the cost per click, which brings me to the second metric, which is consideration. In consideration, you retarget the responsive. The ones who are responding, you retarget them first before you get into the conversion campaigns, and re-engage them. If they've seen one ad, probably show them another ad. If they've reached your landing page once, website once, the second, that is when you've created a micro market. A lot of brands believe that retargeting the ones who are liking, sharing, and commenting and following your page, uh, that is again a good retarget audience to have. But I would still want to engage them further, increase the intent about the brand. The first time when he sees the brand ad, probably just trying to learn about the brand and the present. The second time is the brand recall for them. So retarget the responsive, show them a second ad, show them more, maybe get a stickier call to action from them, like have them subscribe to my YT channel, have them follow my IG channel, so on and so forth. Examples. Put them to a stickier spot till you get them to your website, and you throw them an offer the third time. So that brings us to conversion. So you retain the recurring. Once they've bought it, you send them a thank you emails and just keep them hooked to your product. Tell them the next time you come in, we are going to give you a 10% off. Now you're a Prime member, you are in my subscription list. You just subscribe to my newsletter, so then I can take them to below the line for engagement, and not use the retarget ads, because ads are more expensive than the other tools of marketing, which I call them below the line.
That's it. In this saga, there's a interesting. So like, targeting is, I mean, a given in all campaigns we are using it. Um, Now, in terms of that, what like have you noticed like in terms of a conversion rates for retargeting? Like what would be a reference point in terms of if we are doing well, that this is a kind of a percentage of conversion rate for a
There
retargeting
is no,
campaign?
there is no linear number. There is no number to that conversion rate. You can easily find that out from. It will definitely be a little less than the organic conversion rate. As I mentioned
Hmm.
earlier, it's a notional number. Like
Hmm.
CTR, even conversion percentage is a notional number. It depends
That's right.
on the traffic, the amount of traffic that comes. But yes, let's say if I split test two audiences, one is based on interest and behavior. I choose a specific location. I choose a specific city. I I don't know if I have to choose a gender if it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Then choose a specific age group, the most engaging age group. By historical data, I could easily find out which placements should be optimum to show these
Hmm.
ads. Is it a video? Is it a carousel? Where do we place them? How do we show them? How do we engage? Anyway, and once I think I missed the question,
The
Nikhil.
conversion rate we was talking in
Percentage,
remarketing. Yeah.
conversion percentage. So yeah, there are a lot of factors deciding that. So if I split test a soft target audience, which I just defined with the geo targeting, that's a soft target. Whereas this is an RTG. So there are three
Hmm.
kinds of audiences. I don't know if I can share my screen here uh, on this.
Yeah, you
Maybe
can. I think.
I'll share a screenshot with you. You
Sure.
might
I'll.
find it interesting.
Yeah. Definitely.
So there are three kinds of audiences: soft target, retarget, and then auto target. When it comes to soft target, as I mentioned, you do the cohorts on the demography, and when it comes to retarget, it's an easy data which is available on the algorithm itself. Meta will tell you how many people engaged with your Instagram in the last 30 days, 90 days, how many people visited your landing page but did not buy. So you can retarget them. They were onto your landing page, they are aware of your brand now. So yeah, so that's your retarget RTG, and the third one is the ATG, which is an auto target, which is lookalike audiences. You know, give them a sample, and the AI, the algorithm gives you a sample size, extrapolates the sample. So if there are 1,000 people who have visited my landing page, and I tell Facebook, yeah, give me a lookalike of these 1,000, it'll give me an audience size of 200,000 to kind of go for like a target of its own. And so you can always split test these audiences. RTG will always have a better conversion rate as compared to ATG or STG, soft target or auto target.
That's right.
Because as I mentioned earlier, the trust factor is now, I mean, they're aware enough. There is a higher intent. There is a brand awareness now because they have coming to on for the second or the third time after they've seen a couple of ads. It's not the first time. So they
That's
usually
right.
have a higher conversion rate. It is if I have to do proportion wise, it is almost twice or sometimes thrice as better than the retargeting.
That's right.
So if you randomly go for a broad audience, let's say if you're getting a 1% conversion rate with the retargeting, you can get almost 3% conversion rate.
That's right. In like remarketing, the kind of
But in some cases, I've seen all the
methods
way
like
up
for
to
a
3% also, by the way. Sorry.
that's right. Like for layman or in generally like the businesses, like when we see like customers only, so the most common retargeting we find is like from an e-commerce store. Like when you've seen a particular product, we've maybe been on that page for a certain amount of time, so they will kind of showcase those kind of products. So that is a one kind of a format. Like what is that format actually like called within retargeting?
Yeah, there is a lot of ways you can look at it. So whenever you can set up UTM parameters to understand, your GA4 can give you an idea on which particular product page or product pages or the product lines the people are engaging mostly. There is also a Microsoft tool which is similar to the Hotjar. It's freely available. It gives you a heat map of the users on your website, or yeah, on your website, where people are moving. That also gives you a kind of, you can build a strategy around it. Where should you place your banners and your promotions and your most popular products? uh, the most popular products, fortunately, again, with the new CRMs like Shopify, it automatically kind of displays the most popular products or the most searched products on the first page itself on your website. So it's a dynamic kind
Hmm.
of a website for you. And
That's right. So, like, what I was trying to cover, like, in terms of the formats for retargeting, that was one particular format where you just, kind of showcase the same products. Maybe he is viewed on an e-commerce site, but are there any different other innovative kind of formats that are coming up in retargeting, which is making it, a more personalized experience, or like at least it nudges the customer into maybe taking the decision faster. That's what the purpose of the marketing is in the first place.
so yeah, so retargeting, I always encourage,
That's right. Like for
all my.
example, I'll just give you an example, like where I've seen a particular shoe. Maybe I've added it to my wish list, and
Yes.
then when I'm seeing the retargeting ad, they are showing me that till maybe say in 10 hours there is a sale happening on that particular shoe or something. So getting those call to actions also within that, so that it creates that urgency of me to purchase that. So something like these are also coming up within retargeting.
Yeah, it's a, what I was doing was, tip of the iceberg, when I mentioned that, you create your lookalikes or your retarget audiences. Uh, it has come to a lot of advancement now. And okay, so let's say, I have, Nikhil has a website. You are selling shoes. You are selling T-shirts, and most of the people are actually looking into T-shirts more than shoes, for example. And I want to retarget them for T-shirts. Always push your winners when you're going for
Yeah.
paid media. A lot of clients want to push the products which are not performing. I advise against that strongly, because once you're paying a premium to showcase your products. Always put your best foot forward and always use the best product. Anyway, so now what I'm going to do is, I'm not only going to retarget people who visited my website, because that would include both the shoe watchers and the t-shirt watchers. I'm going to use the URL of the t-shirt product line. So probably your URL would be looking like nikhil.com/t-shirt, that page. So
Hmm.
I can actually ask Facebook or Meta to specifically retarget people who have visited the T-shirt URL and not the shoe URL. So
Hmm.
it matches with so and so URL or not. So you can add in condition. You can add a filtered condition after, not only
Hmm.
people who visited my website, but people who visited my website and only on the t-shirt. I had the URL had this and not that. So yeah, that's how
That's
we
it.
can actually retarget them. If you've shown a video last week saying that the offer is going to end on the 31st of May, so on 25th of May, I can actually rerun another ad targeting that particular video, the viewers of that particular video. I can also choose people who have watched that video for at least 15 seconds, if it's a 2-minute long video,
Hmm.
or people who have watched the video for more than 90 seconds. So they are higher in the intent levels, right? So yeah,
That's right.
you can always use those micro things and get deeper
That's it.
into retargeting.
That's right.
But my always
So
my
yeah.
favorite has been, when it comes to retargeting. I always advise my clients. Uh, these are the three data points of your digital footprint: your email address, your phone number, and your first and last name. Email ID being the most critical data point a user has. So I always encourage my customers that, initially, you can, if there's not too much brand awareness, you might as well want to get their contact details, and those can be easily achieved with a very effective cost per result of getting those leads from the networks, and put them in a funnel, put them in a CRM, and take them to the BTL. activities with nudging. You can have algorithmic AI. There are AIs to nudge them, like Calavio. You can send them automated emails every once in a while. You can send them automated WhatsApp messages, and so many things you can do. You can keep nudging them, and that is going to cost much less as compared to retargeting them again via the ad platforms, because these are above the line expenses. So yeah, there are a lot of strategies and tools you can use for retargeting, and it is only getting better with the AIs now.
That's right. So just there was a bit of a lag, I think so.
Okay, did I cut off?
Just a second. Yeah, it was a bit of a lag.
Sorry. So yeah, about retargeting,
That's
is it
right.
okay now?
So that's right. The last point, sorry, you were making was, could you just tell that? I'll just note that at that timing.
I was talking. We were talking about retargeting methods. Can you target specific product line or people who watched a couple of specific
The
product line?
format, yeah, 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 yes,
So, what are the strategies you can employ in retargeting?
yes, yes.
So, when it comes to creating lookalike
That's right.
audiences, it's not
So I'll
only
just,
about.
yes, you can hear me.
Yeah, I can. I can.
Okay, okay. So there was another like no issues. I think we'll move to the next topic only. So as performance marketer, you are working with the other teams, the design team, and also with other creative people, even like creating specific like video, ads, and also what would be your kind of your experience or any kind of suggestions you can give when you are working with these different kind of teams, and how should you kind of organize your work among all these different people and departments so that they are kind of delivering on time, that quality is also being maintained, and then you're also being provided with the output that you need.
Yeah, so now we are stepping into performance marketing plus the other stakes of digital marketing. The other teams, for me, important.
That's right.
There are 3D view that I have for that as well. Again, I have my own theories. I'm kind of pretty unconventional. So there is data, there is design, and there is development. So when it comes to development, it is your digital assets like your website, your social media, your video content, your text content. When it comes to design, the use of colors, the brand colors, the tonation, the tone of your language, what kind of communication tone are you going to use, what kind of emojis are you going to use in your communication on your social media. Uh, that would be the design of it, and then the data that is what do how are we going to integrate all the platforms together into a common CRM? Are we going to have the Pixel and the GA4 and the Google Ads tag manager installed on the website? So that I work with the web developer itself. So it's a parallel journey. It's a back and forth with them. Then there is basically design and development, which also I like to have a content strategist. But now in the last 2 months, I'm now just looking at Chat GPT, and it does everything for me in terms of the content development. So the text content development, and again, you have generative AI tools which are coming. I'm exploring them for videos and So that brings me to prompt engineering now. Um, Again, I know that there's a lot of fear in the horizon of people losing jobs. It's just the way you do it is going to change and not exactly your job. For me, rather than now, when it comes to design, for example, when it comes to creating those
Hmm.
images, those brand
That's
design,
right.
it's the
That's right.
most
So in
beautiful.
this, I think we can come to uh, interesting topic within that would be with this AI tools. How have you incorporated them into your performance marketing work? Then okay, then we can like cover those things within this.
Yeah, sure. So performance marketing, for me, two things are important. One is content creation, and the second is content distribution. So content creation is now AI is going to take over completely. I mean, kind of makes it very easy for everyone. But again, that does not mean to say that if I learn prompt engineering, I'm going to be a great designer just because I bought a tool, AI
Mhm.
tool, and I'm a great prompt engineer. You always need to have that artist in you. I would rather have a designer learn prompt engineering rather than asking a prompt engineer to draw a Michelangelo for me, a Picasso for me.
Hmm.
So, um, yeah, so that's how I deal with the other teams. So I look for people. I look for a team of two or three, and I divide the roles. I let the fish swim in the sea, and the people climb the tree whoever wants to climb the tree do their on their own. So yeah, designer and a developer. A full stack developer always helps. They know the front end of they can also take care of the UI and UX. Graphic design, you always want to design a creative head around you because performance marketing otherwise can get too boring with the numbers and saturation. You always need to have that free mind, liberal mind, creative mind working alongside with you for the content creation bit.
That's right. So apart from the like creation of a copy where it helps, like we've used it in say Chat GTP where that assists you to create a better copy. But apart from that, any other like different tool is there where you have explored it for the performance marketing process?
Well, I've been just exploring recently with my team. I haven't pinned down any particular. We are making a list of about 50 or 60 AI tools that we can find. We are trying to catalog them right now, and we are going to go. We are going through one by one and just seeing if they are feasible. What are the advantages that I can have? Does it cover my gaps? But before I get into the details, it's too overwhelming. Probably it will take me a couple of more weeks to give you an answer on that. But yeah, this is what we have in mind that every stakeholder.
But
Uh,
like say in which process are you looking at that within this AI tool? It will kind of make the process quicker and at least maybe a
for a
better
performance
productivity,
marketer,
better.
for a performance marketer, ChatGPT does your ad copies. You need an generative AI like an image creator and a video creator. What else do you
Hmm.
need?
That's right. Yeah,
And if you have a web developer, they can just get the website code out of ChatGPT itself.
that's right. Do you think like I mean on the interface, like for example, Google Ads dashboard, the AI can be enhanced to so that we use our resources better. There'll be better suggestions from that. What do you feel like Google can do on that interface to where it's giving better suggestions to people who are using that particular platform?
I mean, I don't have any suggestions for Google. I mean, I'm a big fan of Google and Meta, all the networks, whichever network gives me the better results
That's right.
for my brands. But I don't know. Recently, the Performance Max campaign has been a black box. It was launched. It was due to launch long time ago, but because of the COVID and the pandemic, I guess it was the beta was delayed. And I think it was last Feb is when I first saw of Performance Max. Initially in Google, it was a little. it was a very advanced level of knowledge that you need to have before you start running Google Ads. Meta is more user friendly, I would say. You can boost posts, and you can create awareness and engagement on your pages easily. But to create paid engagement for your YT channel or for your website presence, and it was a very because there are too many options. Like you can target the only the YouTube, you can target the Gmail, you can target the Discovery, you can target the Google Display Network, the search partners, the display extension on your search campaigns. There's so many options, but they've combined all into one now, which is an AI driven kind of a campaign as from the behavior it seems, where you just give them the group of assets, which is your text assets, text copies, headlines, 15 characters, 5 or 10, I think. You give them about 20 images that they ask for, those sizes that they ask for, about 5 videos on your YT channel, and have those integrations in place where your Analytics 4 is connected well, your tag manager is connected well, your Google My Business is connected well, your YT channel is connected. Don't forget that. Once you have your conversion settings in place, then it gets much more easier. So yeah, they already having a performance max, and it's quite exciting because it does a lot of jobs in terms of once you've given the objective, it does a quite a neat job so far. Yeah.
Now, about I would like to talk about a little bit more about these podcasts where I think there was I think few months back, YouTube started the podcast related advertising and all because the amount of consumption of podcasts had increased quite a lot, and then advertising directly there with Spotify or on I think Google Podcast also through your user if you're hearing the podcast through YouTube Music also. And also, just wanted to know, like, as a performance marketer in podcasting, how are you kind of, because they have that huge audience, so how do you kind of select them, and what kind of platforms are you using for advertising the same?
So on Amazon, there's a clear segmentation. You can actually find out people who are often listening to audiobooks or podcasts.
Hmm.
Even for Google, like I mentioned, you can mention those URLs of similar channels which are having regular podcasts. Not only that, but you can actually go for search terms. Not only that, but you can actually target people who are using certain kind of apps on their phone, which are
Hmm.
could be podcast apps. It could be audio or an audiobook app. So you can always retarget these kind of people who have these podcast kind of apps. You'll have
That's
to.
right.
I mean, I don't have a list right on the top of my head, but we did have one client, and we had a list of competitors. So we targeted the other apps. So it was a music app we were working on, and a new music app. So we were targeting people who were already listening to Ghana and Savan and um, Spotify or any music app. Similarly, apples to apples. So
That's
you
right.
can actually target those kind of apps. You can target those keywords. You can target those URLs. That's how you would segment your audience, the likely audience. And as I mentioned, this is the soft target. And once you start showing your ads, you will see that some percentage of it, maybe 0.1 or maybe 1%, they start engaging with you, and that is when you have that count of the engaging audience. You can always choose that audience, use that as a box and show them the second ad and third ad and make them take the call to action that you need.
That's right. Now, Sagar, we obviously last, I think, 2 3 years, the amount of performance marketing jobs they have maybe grown 2x or 3x, and I feel like as a digital marketer, if being having the performance marketing skill is become really primary. Like especially to companies where it's a kind of a B2B setting and you are looking at getting leads, and major sources is Google search, and even say using like say remarketing and display and all those things. So what do you feel like? It's become a favored kind of field to get into as a. But what do you feel? What is the advice for people who want to get into it? Obviously, it's attractive because it's kind of lucrative also if you do well in it, and it's kind of high in demand. But what do you feel in terms of your personality or what skills you should inculcate so that you can have a good, great career as a performance marketer?
Well, that's a tough one, to be honest with you. I just, after the pandemic, yes, you are right. This kind of profile has gotten very popular because new businesses wanted to come online, explore the online space more than before. Even
That's
the
it.
businesses which were sitting on the fence were kind of almost forced because of the
That's it.
competition entering the paid media market. Now, when you have a paid media, you obviously want a specialist, like, for example, you want to have a chartered accountant, you want to have a finance director for your money. For your paid
Mm.
media, you want to have someone who can justify the cost for you, get you those returns that you're estimating, make a plan
Mm.
of it. So you should be good with analytics. I got into it before the pandemic, and the kind of skills that I had to develop was have a very insightful analytical skill over data. Understand the data, identify the key metrics. Don't get overwhelmed by too many metrics. Learn, unlearn, relearn. Uh, Keep the fundamentals very simple in marketing. Go through the funnel as I explained earlier. Reach the relevant, retarget the responsive, uh, see which platforms are going to be the best platform for you. Is it a B2B SaaS product? So you would want to consider LinkedIn before Meta, Instagram. I'm not going to entertain people with a SaaS product, right? So, sorry, there is yeah, so yeah, identifying the platforms, those things will come with experience, and because it's an ever evolving uh, industry, that is the technology, AI, everything that comes, you have to make use of it as a marketer. Uh, have the most advanced, analysis could get better now with AI. Definitely, there are so many tools we can just give you insights. Even Google Insights have it, have their own insights. Even Facebook is now having recommendations on your campaigns, so you learn and grow from there. And yeah, so analytical skills would be the primary
So we'll
course.
divide it a little bit. Like say, okay, one is your analytical
Yeah, there would be a
skills.
spectrum of it.
You have to have a bit of a talent within that. I mean, analysis, maybe stuff you've done earlier. Like I'm talking for students. So if you have good analysis skills, it can be for you. Then what will we take the second thing?
Uh, I think if you understand people behavior, marketing is
Yeah,
this always the space for you.
that's right.
Uh, it's very critical
Within
to,
marketing, that would come right understanding people on a deeper level, more psychological thing. Like
yeah,
what are
and
they
having an
understanding their
having
intent, what are they looking at interest. Yeah.
having a very unbiased and an indifferent outlook towards the outside world. You should be able to think like
That's
other
it.
people as well. So you have to imagine that right now I'm not interested in maybe a bicycle at this moment. I probably want to think about maybe a bike, car, or a
Mm.
home. If I was in college, I would be
That's
thinking about Levi's jeans more than having a house. Back in when the So you have to understand your target audience, your cohort audience. That is why I always speak to my clients. Have that first. The first meeting is when we don't have a heavy discussions. We keep it very light. We just maintain the expectations. I share them my point of views of what can be done. So you have to. There is a map of what the business wants, and there is a map of what marketing objectives can you achieve through digital marketing. So you have to kind of match the column there, understand what is the requirement of the business. Is it lead generation? Is it conversion at what level? At what point in time? How does they pay? How do they do the transaction? Do they go online and
That's
pay
right.
for my business? So you have to understand the entire business structure and see the best foot forward you can give, and give them a return on their spends, and not only just like, share, and comments or engagement on the platform, because that is the job half done. Performance marketing is supposed to complete the loop in terms of getting the return on the investment as well. And it is never on the first month or the first time they see the ad. So it's a long term process. You have to build up a pipeline over 3 to 6 months and see how the returns are coming along with your efforts.
That's right. Awesome. We'll come to the trends. Like in every year, we see within our domain what are the new things which are coming up, which is like being adopted as a kind of a strategy
Prompt
or template.
engineering, artificial
Yeah,
intelligence, just deep dive
yeah,
into that. 2023 and the next 5 or 10 years is only going to be about prompt engineering and AI. It will convert. It may just go into a lot of new words and jargons, but you should be able to speak to, like before the computers came, we started learning the keyboard, we started learning how to use the keyboard, then we started learning how to use Facebook and then WhatsApp. Similarly, AI is a wild horse you need to learn how to tame, because you have to use that horse to run faster than your peers. Everyone is going to get a piece of their horse. You find your own AI tool for your profession. Um, just have that rapport, or what I would call prompt engineering, with your machine, and that should be the main focus.
that's right. In targeting, what do you feel it's kind of what is new out there? Like, how are we targeting better?
Again, it's not, it's a GPT, so even targeting is going to get easier. Initially, about 5 years ago, we had to manually split test mm, ads, and on the ad set level and on Meta, for example. Now you just have an algorithm, and so you just have to give them 5 ads, the campaign, and they decide on their own. And including, you can also, similarly, Meta, there are two jargons: campaign budget optimization and ad set budget optimization. So you can kind of automate your split test. Even on Google, you can create experiments. So you don't have to run two parallel campaigns. You can just split the campaign into half and you can split test. So that is algorithm at play. And the algorithm does it on its own. They will split test and they'll tell you after 10 or 15 days on their own key, this is a better way to run this particular campaign, because the cost per results are here. So AI is going to make all of that automatic. Maybe there'll be one day, if you're a business owner, you just have to get up in the morning, just type in 5 or 10 lines of codes of what you intend to accomplish for the day, and different AIs will just complete it for him in an hour. And then in fact, AI, I don't see a point of
I
taking
feel in the
a bigger role.
targeting there is a lot of potential with AI how it can get better. Like say like you're having an event and you're having it within
The auto
you're
targeting, the
targeting
ATG is very
you're
strong. The ATG,
that's right.
when I was talking about soft target, auto target, and retarget, I'll share the screenshot with you so we get a better perspective of what I'm
That's it.
talking about. But yeah, auto targeting will be like ten times better than what it is right now. Maybe even 100 times, you never know. So that's going to get really, really crazy. It's going to be an exponential effect on most of the functions, digital functions, especially.
That's right. In
But
terms
again,
of like obviously also
just don't rely on AI tools. If you're starting up from the beginning, it's better to learn and then use an AI tool rather than just completely relying on AI tool. As I mentioned earlier, I don't want a prompt engineer to paint a Picasso for me. I would rather have a graphic designer learn prompt engineering. That's an art.
that's right.
Come through from the way of art to science.
That's right. With respect to the app engagement, like in terms of as a performance marketer, we do a lot of campaigns in terms of if people have stopped using the app to restart using because
Drive some engagement,
campaigns
yeah.
that like you persevere, right? Like you continuously are like hammering so that you kind of get the attention of the user. So within that
I
space, are you
don't like
seeing
to call it
anything new,
hammering
anything
anymore
way?
because there are too many
Yeah,
competitors, so it's probably
yeah,
nudging now.
nudging. Yeah, yeah. That is the polite way of saying. Yeah. So in that, are you seeing anything new developments, any technology or something where the nudging or something is becoming better?
Yeah, there are AI tools which you can integrate with your CRM itself, where the data is, and they will do things on their own. You can just prompt them that if somebody visits my website, some one of my customers or somebody visits my website twice in a week, you show them this ad and you give them a 5% discount, and it will do the everything for you.
That's right.
Kind of draft an email, send the email, give them the generate the coupon code automatically and give it to that.
That's
And
right.
that coupon code would be valid only to that particular user. Imagine that exclusivity that
That's right.
no one else, even if you have the code, there will be no promotion code because your AI has linked your identity to the businesses and they know exactly how you're behaving with the
That's right.
business. So you can have exclusive. You can just tell
That's
the
right.
AI, okay, everyone. You can get up in the morning, tell your AI that everyone who do you know from my target audience is having a birthday today. Just give them a 10% off on my product today and tell them a happy birthday from the brand itself. And you don't have to go for targeting your audience manually, looking for your audience,
That's right.
uh, creating a campaign. It will do it on its own. Show
Yeah.
an ad
Yeah,
through an
it's
email.
like why don't we have like where you kind of create a prompt like in say the Google Ads dashboard that create a ad and you're just kind of dictating it and then it just takes output
Yeah,
what you are
and
saying and
that
creates
AI
the
is already
campaigns and
connected.
targeting.
Yeah, I have
Yeah,
the paid license for that AI, and I've integrated that AI with my CRM, where my data is, or my website, for that matter, where I'm
that's right.
taking all the data points from them.
So you're already
It's
using that. I didn't get that. So you're already using something like that?
No, as I mentioned, we are still exploring, and
Acha, okay.
there is something exciting that me and my team are trying to build up, but it could be a process till the end of July, I guess. But I'm not going to spill the beans today.
That's great. That's great. But for your clients, like within that space, how it's going to be a little bit beneficial? Anything you want to share with regarding that?
So the daily optimizations, the executions, that could save us a lot of time. The learning phases could improve for the algorithm. Rather than me
Okay,
spending
okay.
2 days, planning and selecting a campaign and waiting for another 3 4 days for the algorithm to respond and get out of the learning phase or the bid strategy learning phase by Google. Those 5 days could become just 5 hours with AI.
That's right. Yes, yes. So
Which
whoever's
means that
watching, I
right
feel,
now, if I
yeah,
can, right now independently, I'm managing 7 brands. With AI, if I schedule 1 hour per brand, I can probably do 7 into 5, 35 brands in a week, 5 times more,
that's right.
with the same amount of effort, or maybe even lesser efforts.
That's right. Yeah. So I feel anyone
Just
who's kind of seeing this, then they should definitely follow you. So when your update comes in, then can have a chat with you regarding getting you on
absolutely.
board. Sagar, basically, like obviously, as you're marketing FMCG products, a lot of people use Amazon because you have the maximum, audience there who is searching for different kind of products. So,
The
um,
intent audience.
yeah, yeah. So places like Amazon, I would say they are classified as like marketplaces. Like it depends what industry.
Yes.
If you are selling a small product, it would be Amazon. If you are in say the travel industry, you would have your some travel aggregator like Make My Trip. So I wanted to know with as a performance marketer in terms of marketplace optimization, like any techniques you would use that you have used and you want to share with the particular audience.
So essentially, if you have to understand the entire system, the enterprise solution, marketplace is you'll find people with the intent. You don't find those unaware stumblers. They are coming with a specific intent. They have a specific product in mind. So there's a particular product category you can target when you're running your ads. In terms of the structure, it is very similar to any other display or the search campaigns, where you can use your keyword strategy for your search inbound campaigns, and you can use your segmentation and other techniques for your outbound campaigns, display campaigns. And but there are a few things that you need to keep in mind when it comes to aggregation. Most of my clients, businesses, brands that I've worked with, the aggregation business always has a margin to their business, which is been charged by the marketplace itself. It depends on the category. It depends on how far is your warehouse from their main warehouse. Are you a prime seller? There are a lot of factors which decide how much. If you sell something worth 1,000 rupees, how much are you going to get into your bank accounts? Maybe you will get 750 or 700. The margins, they factor in, they compound, they almost go up to 20 to 30% in most of the categories that I have known. And above and beyond that, you're still doing a paid marketing. So if your profit margins are met uh, successfully, after giving away 20-30% is when you can probably consider pushing. But because it's a marketplace, it's a dense network of highly intent and purchasers, you will find a very good visibility for your brand. So always tap into that. It always helps, visibility. Maybe the cost per acquisition the first time was expensive, the next time you might come to directly to your website to buy it, so which means you won't lose your margins. So for brand visibility and the cash flows, you can have a high volume of sales. But again, because of the margins, it would be more beneficial for the cash flow rather than profit margins.
Mhm.
Um,
So
and
Sagar, like what are the factors that you on these marketplaces you will kind of rank higher or you can sell better on these platforms?
The reviews and the ratings, the validation. Uh, the customers want to buy a product, buy a t-shirt. You are selling a t-shirt already, but why should they buy from you?
Mm.
So it's not always the pricing. India is a price sensitive market, but with the price competition, you can easily get into. Uh, and there is always an audience segment which is indifferent to the pricing strategy. If you're providing really good quality, which comes from your ratings and reviews, because that gives them a trust value, a trust factor. Every time they don't have to validate or evaluate a brand whenever they plan to buy a t-shirt after a year or so, or maybe after 6 months. If I have ratings and reviews enough, there are enough ratings and reviews for me to validate the brand and have a trust with the brand, I can just straight up go for it. So yeah, building your reviews, get your feedbacks from your customers, good or bad, good, bad, ugly, all of them. Try to mitigate the bad ones as much as possible. Have a brand character. So to display your brand character, visibility, yeah, those aggregator businesses, there's something that you cannot look away from. Definitely, you should be exploring them if it falls in your business. The cash flows help, the visibility helps.
Also, the advertising. Let's be honest, on we have to advertise on these platforms as well. So, having taking out a budget for that and then planning. But do you think the advertising on these
Yeah, so
platforms is
most of
kind of
the
similar
cases,
to how you advertising on social media networks in general?
most of the cases, as I mentioned earlier, you already lose 20 to 30% of the margins. So let's say if those margins can be used for advertising directly for your website, where you don't lose margins, but that money of your margin can be used for advertising externally. So it is again a macro market, marketplace or a macro market. They are not your customers; they are Amazon's customers, which you're trying to
Hmm.
lure them in. So plus, there is a whenever you are advertising for a particular product, it's on the same screen you are placed next to your competitor. So you can imagine the diversification, the distraction. If some other brand is slightly doing better than you have a 4.8, maybe they have a 4.9, and you both have 1,000 ratings and both are selling at the same price. uh, Maybe your quality is better, but that might not matter because you already have a 4.8 and you are right next to your competitor who's having a 4.9. So that's one risk there. When he's on my website, it does not matter what is next to the product. That's also my product, right? So if not the black, you may go for the white t-shirt. But when it comes to Amazon, your product could be placed right next to the other 10 competitors, closest competitors to you. So there is one downside to it. So the CTR may not look as beautiful as the micro market that you create. So I always tell people that the platforms, Meta Network, Google Network, marketplaces, these are all networks. This is where your audience is available, but you have to make them yours by some top of the line kind of funnels and campaigns to get them onto your particular website. So I would say I would consider a customer an aware customer is twice as better or thrice as better as an unaware customer. And he's aware only once he's landed, visited your website, and exclusively spent time.
Great. So, Sagar, now coming to the part that obviously everybody would look forward to when they come into the podcast is the marketer would talk about one of the best campaigns. Like it could be in terms of, obviously we're not looking at in terms of the metrics that are there. That obviously there are so many factors that come into, but it could be something where you are pushing the envelope or something innovative you've tried and then it has worked out with the audience, and that has given you a lot of satisfaction as a marketer. So anything regarding that you would want to share, any campaign or any kind of details, how it kind of what you envisioned has actually worked out the way you wanted?
Um, so there was this risk which I had taken when I was learning lead generation campaigns for the real estate audience. Uh, that is one of the most difficult because that has the highest ticket value. So, can you imagine buying a house online? No, no one does that. So, that is a huge funnel to have, and there are so many factors, there are so many teams involved before you get the final return on investment from your target audience via ads. So, that was the longest funnel we had. And so there are critical metrics are obviously the first one is the cost per lead that you generate. So lead can be generated in two main ways. From Meta, you can show an ad form, ask them for their name, number, and email address, and put it in your and that goes into your database or your CRM. Sorry. And the second way of them contacting you is obviously again through the social media. They can interact on WhatsApp, or you can then interact on IG Direct or Facebook Messenger. That is one channel. Then the best is always you take them from the network onto your particular landing page, because that is a higher intent. They're taking a lot of efforts, they're interested in a product, which is why they're clicking on the ad, spending time on your landing page. And those are the ones which you want to really target first and come to the rest later. So start with that. So you have a CPL, so they fill up the form. Usually the CPLs cost per lead on the web form, which I call it on your landing page, are higher. The cost is higher. Whereas the cost on the Meta form or the IG Directs, the lead generated through those channels, the cost per lead is quite lower. We had a funnel where the average cost per lead was somewhere around 450 to 500 rupees. Uh, with some optimizations and continuing on the same funnel, I was able to drop down the 450 to almost less than 200 rupees cost per lead by basic optimizations on the ad level, on the communication level. But the conversion rate remained the same, where the main conversion was of all the leads generated, they have to have a site visit, a physical visit, which is the strongest of an intent. You're physically traveling, and we are talking about somewhere very close to COVID. So if we had restrictions on travel, And despite of all the efforts, when they come to visit your site, your real estate site, is that was the first level of conversion that we called it. So that is the visit, the cost per visit. Um, the cost per lead and the cost per visit, that brings us to cost per acquisition later. How do we calculate all of this? So let's say I show an ad, my cost per lead is right now 200 rupees. I show an ad to 10 people. So I spend 2000 rupees to 2000 people, 2000 rupees that gives me 10 people leads. I call up all the 10 people, but only one of them shows up, at the site. The remaining nine are not interested. So my cost per visit is 2000 because my conversion rate is 10%.
Hmm.
How do I increase my conversion from 10% to 15%? If I can do that, or maybe 10 to 20%, let's keep it simple. So if I can increase my conversion rate to 20%, then my cost per lead, even if it jumps from 200 to 300 rupees, I don't need 10 people, I just need five more people. I need five people at the rate of 300. So it becomes 1500 rupees, 1500. So my now cost per visit is 1500. That is more important to me. So instead of 2000, I went up to 1500. But what happened is the way I was able to bring the cost per lead down is by going heavy on the display networks and not doing too many ads for the web form because the cost per lead was seemingly higher. That is when, after the client had confidence in me and I brought the cost per lead, I explained to them that you have to let me take that risk. The average cost per lead may look notionally from 250 going back towards 400, 450, but the conversion rate are more likely to jump from 10 to 20%. And that is what something those lines has happened. The cost per lead increased slightly because we started proportioning more budgets towards inbound campaigns, and the conversion rate jumped from initially it was 6%, I think, where at 250 cost per lead, so that would make it cost per visit was around 4000 rupees or 5000 rupees, and that dropped down from uh, uh, to barely 20-30%, but the cost per acquisition, the cost per visit went down to 3,500. Now, once you have achieved the cost per visit, how much money does it take for you to have so many people visit your site? Then it's a linear curve for the sales team because they know that for sure that out of every five who come to our site, within the next 45 days, they are able to convert at least one out of them. That is 20%. So that is a cost per acquisition. Now when we calculate that when the cost per visit was around 3,500 and the cost per acquisition we were able to have a cost per acquisition of 20,000 within 20,000 rupees. Within 20,000 rupees, the customer has actually given us a booking amount check, which is in the range of 1 lakh rupees, which is a 5x. I've spent 20,000 so far on my ads and through the funnel to get a check from him for 1 lakh rupees. And the ticket size of the real estate is somewhere in the range of 50, 60 lakhs plus. In some cases, we were in Andheri and Mumbai in metros. So we had ticket sizes of going up to even 6 to 7 crores,
Hmm.
and that is where that is what impressed my clients a lot. They were not very digital native, but I could explain to them in numbers that if it was a broker, he would have charged you a 2% commission, which would mean almost, if you consider 7 5 cr, 2% is 10 lakh rupees. Whereas here we were able to close it within 1 lakh rupees,
That's it.
or
So
maybe
Sagar,
20.
just to in terms of for the ease of understanding of the viewer, you can just summarize that with the metrics. Like what were the like a general, I would say, industry standard and what you got. Like just people can see a comparative or something with just the metrics. If you can take us through.
Exactly. So usually, most of these real estate developers, they would always take a bargain of 2.5 to 3% on their ticket value. So which means if they are selling a flat worth 1 CR, 1 crore, they
Yeah.
don't mind spending 2.5 lakhs.
Yeah.
Whereas through the digital network, with the key cost per acquisition when they write the booking amount, We were able to close the same deal for less than 50,000, in some cases 60,000. uh,
Mm.
why I'm not taking the initial 20,000? Because there are indirect costs as well. It's a 45-day cycle, which includes the salary of the telecaller, the salesperson on the site as well. So all these costs come into the picture of the brokerage. So rather than spending 2.5 lakhs, I was able to give them a closure at 75,000, which is one third of 2 lakhs. So that is a part of digital marketing. And I was also able to explain to them that when you put out those big hoardings where you spend 10 lakhs per month on those big hoardings, how many footfalls do you get out of those? They mentioned they get somewhere in the range of 50 to 100 per month, for which they are spending 100 lakhs. So there, the cost per visit itself is 10,000 rupees.
Mm.
And because of the hoardings, a lot of passerbys also, just out of curiosity, would walk in without any intent. Whereas on a digital ad is somewhere very different, and he's coming through not to just he's not just a passerby, but he's coming with a lot of intent. So
That's right.
those were
Plus,
the two
he's coming with
advantages.
his research as well, like the a customer where he feels there's a
Exactly, he's
match in
already
terms of
nurtured.
affordability and his intent to buy and all. So that is more
He's nurtured.
qualified
He's
lead
nurtured
than yeah,
by
yeah,
that sales guy. He's all his queries answered in the first place. What could
mm,
be the average costing? What is the area? And what are the amenities around? Are there any schools and hospitals? He has all the knowledge. He knows about the product. He knows about the brand, and he's coming there with an intent, and not because just he
mm,
saw a huge attractive hoarding, and maybe he wants to know what are the rates going on in the market. So those were the advantages and
that's right.
disadvantages. The advantage I got from that is initially they were leveraging only 10% of their monthly marketing budgets towards digital marketing. Remaining 90% were for offline marketing. But after these campaigns, over a period of 3 to 4 and 6 months, almost 6 months, it took me to get there. They started leveraging almost 40% of their budgets into digital marketing and keep remaining 60 for their offline marketing. So that was a great achievement that I was able to achieve because
That's right.
I was working with an agency, and I'm sure obviously it
That's
gives,
right. Just
everyone.
just like a important thing. Obviously, I have had a word with a lot of youngsters. Also, they want to get into performance marketing and get direct clients. Also, even small businesses they are investing. So, what kind of like if you are freelancing in it, what is the kind of model? Is it like a percentage thing? Like so, of the whole budget, the performance marketer gets say 15% of it, or you price it differently? What kind of approach you are there if say you are just freelancing in this and you are providing optimization services for his like Google ads or Facebook ads in general?
So as a freelancer, first of all, you have to be very versatile. You have to have multi-dimensional skills. You should be able to close a lot of gaps. Uh, uh, It's like this marketing is not a specific problem. It's not a specific skill. I mean, it cannot be simplified to one particular professional skill set or talent set. So you have to commoditize your skill sets. You have to put weightage to what kind of skill sets are you going to be applying. Are you going to be advertising only on Instagram? Maybe they just want to increase their followers, or is it going to be a much deeper funnel with the SEO, SEM? Is it going to be a long-term project? Uh, when do you think you will be able to split test all your basic campaigns and get to those numbers that you were initially planning for your client in the first presentation? So you have to commoditize your time as well. How much are you going to charge them? So there's a minimum retainer fee I usually charge, and we keep an always an incentive clause if I meet or exceed the expectations of the client. So there's always a bonus part to it which is tied up into the contract. So that is how it works. So, and most of the times it is a minimum retainer or some percentage of the ad spends. Most of the times, performance marketers charge anywhere between 10 to even 25% of the ad spends, depending on the size of the budget. of the client. So that can be a very subjective matter. Um, as a performance marketer, I also have friends who have started a business, so I've just done on pro bono as well. So rather than chasing money, you just chase the talent. Is still a very open space. It's there's a long way to go in that. But yeah, usually it is some percentage of the ad spends or a minimum retainer per month or quarterly or contract basis.
As an advertiser, if you have to kind of know the local audience, you have to be part of it, like, where you make campaigns as per the understanding, you understand the pop culture, what interests them, what is part of their culture and all that. So in performance marketing, does it matter, like, if you have to understand, like, you have to be part of them, like, an Indian will say market for an Indian brand or something like that. So does it really matter in performance marketing, or it's mostly really maths related and analysis and that kind of thing?
No, you have to understand your code. I mentioned that earlier. In the second stage of consideration, the CPC, if you're showing the right content to the wrong people, you will not get your results. If you're showing the wrong content to the right people, you still won't get results. The only time you get results or response initially, it's a validation for your brand, is when you're showing the right content to the right people. And when you understand the right people, the target audience, that is going to be the heart of your campaign in more cases than not. Uh, yes, of course, the ad format, the communication, they all play an equal part in the success of your campaign. But the heart of the campaign will always be your target audience. And as I mentioned, there are different kind of audiences because of the algorithm, because of the machine learning. So there are a lot of permutations and combinations you can always split test. So yeah, you can always use a data-driven analysis. But as I mentioned earlier, the basic profiling, the first meeting you should have with the client and understand from the client's perspective, try to get as much information. With platforms like Google, if you put in those keywords and if you put in certain criterias of the URLs that I was talking about or the apps, it will kind of give you an estimate of what is the ratio. 70% are females or 30% are males. Um, 30% of most of them are in the top 40% of the income group, or they're in the bottom 50% of the income group. That also you get those kind of analysis and numbers. Those are rough numbers, so you can always read into your Google Analytics that last 3 months, if the traffic has been 5,000 people, out of the 5,000 people, 1,000 are unknown maybe, but remaining 4,000, half were men, half were women. So you can safely assume that entire 5,000 is split into 50-50. The 1,000 unknown were also like half men,
That's right.
half women. So so on and so forth. You can use those tools, and you have to understand that is going to be the heart of my research. So if I have to research a new client, if Nikhil tells me let's start this business right now in the next couple of hours, I would go back to my whiteboard. I would spend isolated 2 hours of researching what kind of platform should I have, and how can I begin my advertising, where will I get my monies from, what is going to be the funnel or the user journey. And if I have to spend 2 hours, I would literally spend more than 45 minutes on targeting the audience and making the audience strategy. How am I going to target and retarget and
That's right.
split test?
So yeah, Sagar, we'll get to the last part of it. So in your experience now as a performance marketer, it's been quite a few years. Any like specific learnings you have which you give to the next generation of performance marketers coming up who are students and they have just hired as, say, a performance marketing executive, and also what you have learned over, say, last, say, 9-10 years, and that could be some valuable lesson for them, which will also save them a little bit time and effort from the on their end. Yeah,
Well, as I mentioned, it's a very dark space ahead with the AI coming in. It's a something which will always keep changing. So there is no end game to this in terms of this is all I need to know about performance marketing. You have to constantly keep yourself up to date with the latest developments across all the businesses, the advertising platforms, and the legal. nuances, everything that you have to keep yourself constantly updated. Always remember that there is always data available. The data never lies, so you can always do your data driven and have a guided approach towards your strategy. And uh, uh, the whole beauty of performance marketing, which I now find is also that it feels very powerful to have that control over so many millions of people seeing your ad. I feel very thrilled. I feel very responsible. That it has to be worth it. It has to be entertaining. The value proposition has to be clean and neat and has to be real. I don't like to give my clients fake followers even if they're coming for cheap. I don't do all of that. No gimmicks, no fluff. Just deep dive, dwell into the data, see how you can help businesses grow with the power that you hold in terms of how they want to spend their money. If we leave, they are looking for performance marketers because they know if they spend the money on their ads, probably they might end up getting one third or the one fifth of results of what a performance marketer could get. And don't fear, I don't know, because there are a lot of performance marketers who don't know. Even I don't know what's coming tomorrow. I mean, we had
That's right.
ChatGPT, we had Google Bard. I'm waiting for more things. I'm sure
That's right.
Adobe is going to come up with something soon.
That's
Microsoft
right.
is with something
Yeah,
soon. So,
I feel with respect to performance marketing, I think some advice I would have is firstly, you should definitely record your work, whatever you're doing on a day-to-day basis, the activities, where then you can kind of not only for reporting to the higher management, but also tracking yourself, like what action led to what kind of result that was within the campaign, and also a open
yeah.
kind of a communication that I think should be with all the stakeholders within that, so because sometimes I would feel there is a bit of unrealistic expectation, especially where say the owner of the this thing is involved, and or the company who is maybe not that aware. Obviously, as a business person, you would want all your results quicker at the cheapest possible rate. So there has to be kind of a communication, and they should be made aware of market standards. And obviously, you should also prove in terms of the efforts that you have done, right? Like, or what different kind of optimization techniques you have used, and also tracking the what the competition is doing, a constant tracking of what ads are being done, what are the creatives there, what all other channels they have been used. So I feel for a constant thing as a performance marketer, that approach, communication, that would obviously go a long way in your success in that. Awesome. So I think that's the podcast. So thanks a lot,
Thank you,
Sagar,
Nikhil,
for
for the.
taking out, yeah, taking your time and coming down. So anything you would like to tell the audience regarding like currently what you are doing, and any kind of people you are like trying to approach for any kind of work that you are doing or you have done in the past and had success in it. So you can just elaborate on that.
Well, there's a high demand for performance marketing, so I don't always say yes to all my clients or the new approaches because I'm a very ethical marketer when it comes to the involvement. For me, it is all or nothing. If I don't have the bandwidth, I don't shy away from saying no to my clients rather than impressing and pleasing and try to gather a lot of checks for myself. I would not be able to do justice to the involvement because, as I mentioned, there are so many factors, there's so many ways. It's a multi-dimensional effort that you have to commit yourself to. So uh, I'm not looking for any employees. I don't have a. I'm not. I want to be an independent gunslinger. One of my mentors just coined that word day before yesterday. Rishi Ganguly, special shout out to him. He really motivated me for this podcast. I was a little lost. But yeah, so have be ethical about your profession. You have to be very self-disciplined. It can get very, very overwhelming. Sometimes you can have a convergence of all your clients wanting to have a meeting with you the same day. It becomes very difficult to jump from one brand to the other brand strategy, because you have to change the way you think and you're strategizing, because it's like a game of chess. No two games are the same, even though the rules and the pieces and the position or everything is the same. It's the no two games of chess are same ever. So it's very crazy. Hence, the self discipline would be a very important factor. You have to give in those hours of the day to yourself as well as to the client, and manage the expectations correct. Um, Always use data driven analysis. Don't give into the pressures of the client, that sometimes client feels that they like this ad as per compared to the ad. You always have an option to split test. You can use just 1% of the budget and split test which ad is doing better. So always use data-driven analysis. Don't use personal biasness. You may feel that this particular ad or this particular placement may do better. That I want to show my ads only on Reels and Stories and not on Explore and Feed. But you never know. Once you run the ad, people may be responding better to the story and the Feed version, because probably it gives out a better kind of an information, which the story or the Reel were not able to pull it out of that kind of an engagement. You never know the whole story. So always use data driven analysis. Have no biasness towards any particular kind of a cohort analysis. Also, don't have that FOMO when you're targeting your audience. Don't try to go broad all the time. Unless you are just targeting only the top of the funnel, you just want engagement, then it does not matter. You can go as broad as you want to. But when it comes to the real conversion goals, which a performance marketer is going to be responsible for, as compared to a digital marketer, you'll be answerable for the return on the ad spend. Not now, but later down the line. Because I would always consider return on ad spend on the lifetime value and not on the cost per acquisition of the first purchase.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
Sagar, for your time. And everyone, take care. And until the next episode, many more interesting people coming on the MI podcast. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I'll see
Thank
you all.
you.
Take
Thank you
care.
for this time, Nikhil.